Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, we talked about it yesterday. It's gotten much bigger. So, as I talked about yesterday, the reaction to the Grammys combined now with a statement that Michelle Wu, Marxist Michelle, the Moonbat mayor of Boston, she made this in March of 2025 in an interview. And it was first picked up upon by Trump political advisor, his deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller. And he rightly said, he was completely right. He said, listen to what she's saying, because this is the central organizing principle of the entire corrupt National Democratic Party. Everything they've been doing flows downstream from this seminal key belief that animates the Democratic Party when it comes to open borders, illegal immigration, and deportation. And from that point, when I mean everybody is weighing in on it, I mean everybody is weighing in on it. Members of Congress, senators, it's made obviously national, even international news. Everybody now is either agreeing or disagreeing with Marxist Michelle. What to me is amazing is how many Democrats are galvanizing and rallying around Michelle Wu. She has made, to me, one of the most preposterous, frankly insane, loco. She's crazy. One of the most ridiculous and I think dangerous statements ever made in the history of the world. I'm choosing my words very carefully. Forget the history of the United States, the history of the world. Here is what she said in March of 2025. And to people who live outside of Boston, she has tried to live up to this statement. This is not just words. This is action. She has made Boston a sanctuary city. She has allowed illegals to flood into Boston and the greater Boston area. She refuses to cooperate with ICE. She has done everything in her power to sabotage and obstruct ICE operations and legitimate law enforcement. She will not send a single illegal back, even if they're murderers, rapists, pedophiles, gangbangers, you name it. For Michelle Wu, Boston is an open city to the entire world. Listen to what Michelle Wu said in March of last year. Roll cut 29, Mike.
Every person, every human being has the legal right to come to the United States and seek asylum or shelter. And
Mike, do me a favor so everybody can absorb this, because this is so outrageous. Can you play it again one more time? Please, Mike.
Every person, every human being has the legal right to come to the United States and seek asylum or shelter. And
I mean, this is incredible. I mean, this is really incredible. But look, Miller is right. As I said on X last night, Miller is not 100. He is 1,000% correct. 1,000% correct. This is the heart and soul. This is the seminal, central, animating belief and organizing principle of the Democratic Party. It is why Joe Biden allowed 20 million illegals to pour in. It is why we have over 40 million illegals in our country. It is why they believe in sanctuary cities and sanctuary states and sanctuary jurisdictions. It is why now they are fighting tooth and nail. It's basically now on the verge of a civil war, whether it's in Minneapolis, Minnesota, whether it's Chicago, whether it's New York, whether it's LA, whether it's Portland, by the way, whether it's Portland, Oregon, or Portland, Maine. It doesn't matter. The Democrats now have making their stand. They will not allow the mass deportations of a single illegal alien, no matter how violent, criminal, or dangerous they are. Because as Michelle Wu laid it out, to her credit, she said the quiet part out loud. Every human being on planet Earth, that's 8.3 billion people, have the legal right to come to the United States, i.e. seek shelter, meaning they're entitled to housing. And of course, with housing comes health care and education and welfare and food stamps. So, as Congressman Brandon Gill of Texas, he was one of many who responded, saying, here it is in a nutshell. The Democrats are advocating for infinite immigration in order to have infinite welfare. And the problem is resources are finite. We don't have infinite welfare. We don't have infinite money. We don't have infinite resources. We just don't. We can barely take care of 340 million people. So you're telling me that if $1 billion comes in, or $2 billion comes in, or $3 billion, or $4 billion, or $5 billion, they have the legal right to come to the United States of America, and there's nothing we can do to stop it? What she's saying, this is Karl Marx. Just to be very, very clear, this is pure, undistilled Marxism. It's not just open borders fanaticism, okay, which it is. But it's even worse than open borders fanaticism. What she is calling for is for the end of borders, for the end of nation states, for the end of national sovereignty, really for the end of the United States of America. It's the Marxist dream of one world where people can go wherever they want and no one has the right to stop them, or the ability to stop them. And notice at what she's saying is this, that the world has a right to come to the United States. Let me play it one more time, okay? One more time. Do me a favor, Mike. Roll cut 29.
Every person, every human being has the legal right to come to the United States and seek asylum or shelter. And
immigration to the United States is a legal right for the world. Now, when was this right ever invented? Who created this right? And notice, okay, and this is not an original point. Many people are pointing this out. Notice now what the left has done, the Democratic Party, and this is Michelle Wu now. Okay, what they're now advocating is that the rest of the world has more rights than Americans in America. Why? Because we don't have the right to go to any other country. We don't have the right. It's a privilege. It's a privilege. You know, when I recently went on a cruise and we went to the Bahamas, it's a privilege to be allowed to go into the Bahamas. I don't have a right to go to the Bahamas. None of you don't have the right to go to Switzerland or France or Japan or take your pick anywhere. Why? Well, if they don't want to let you in, they have the right not to let you in for whatever reason. I can't just pack up my bags and go live somewhere. I can't just decide I'm going to live there for 6 months or a year and, by the way, get free welfare and free benefits. They kick me out. So you see, Americans don't have the right to legally live wherever they want around the world and expect full welfare. But the rest of the world has the right to come to the United States. Immigration is a privilege. It's not a right. It's not a right. And by the way, where does it say in the Constitution that the world has the legal right to come here? Nowhere. Where does it say in federal immigration law that the world has the right to come here? Nowhere. In fact, quite the opposite. If you want to immigrate to the United States, you have to apply. You have to be vetted. Usually you apply, especially if you want asylum or refugee status, from outside the United States, preferably a third country. third-party country. And then you get vetted, and then we see how many people can we admit, how many people can we afford to admit, and then we make decisions. She literally is defying federal immigration law, the Constitution, and basically telling the entire world, you can come and flood the United States, billions of you, and we are obligated to welcome you with open arms and give you everything for free. Now, as I said on X, and I want to repeat this, this is the woman who had a elected colors only Christmas party, who said whites were not welcome at a Christmas party. She is an anti-white racist. What is she calling for here? What is she calling for? Let's all be honest with one another. She wants $8 billion to potentially come to the United States. She is advocating for the conquest of the United States through massive demographic invasion. Okay, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on, and then I want to go right to the phone lines. Look, let me just put it out there. Let me ask all of you, and I want everybody from across the entire political spectrum, if to the libs, if you want to call in, this is your chance. Is Michelle Wu right? Do you agree with Marxist Michelle Wu? Does everybody, every single human being, every human on the planet, do they have the quote-unquote legal right to come to the United States and seek shelter? Are we essentially obligated to allow the entire world to come to America's shores? Because this is what, not only what she believes, this is clearly what Tim Walz believes, what Jacob Frey believes, what Joe Biden believes, what Obama believes, what Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, I could run down the whole list. This is why they believe in sanctuary cities. This is why they believe in sanctuary jurisdictions or sanctuary states. This is why they want to abolish ICE. This is why they're now doing everything in their power to impede and stop ICE from conducting legitimate law enforcement operations to arrest, detain, and deport criminal illegal aliens. Because everybody has the right to come and everybody has the right to stay. And that's why Stephen Miller, I think, really hit the mark. And now it's set off a massive national debate. Now, let me just make an obvious point. Why, by the way, how does this benefit America? If we're going to now become a dumping ground for the entire world. And remember, most of the world, even today, is very poor, very backward, very what used to be called third world. So essentially, you know, let's be honest, you're not going to be getting people from South Korea who are going to come here, or from Japan, or from Norway, first world countries. You're going to get, when you open up your borders, you get them from people all across Africa, Latin America, the poorest parts of Asia, the Middle East, obviously, parts of Eastern Europe. And so you're getting people who have low education, very low skills, many of whom come from very foreign cultures that are almost impossible. In fact, they don't even want, like the Somalis, they don't even want to assimilate. So let me ask you, by the way, in a country and in a society, an economy where we're going towards AI, artificial intelligence. In other words, more technology, more high tech, but we're importing massive low skill or unskilled labor. Think about how insane that is. So what you're doing is you're just bringing in a massive population to then make them dependent and put them on welfare. Because they can't compete in an AI economy. They can't compete in a high-tech economy. So how does this benefit Boston? How does this benefit the United States? That we just get flooded by billions and billions of people and then put them all on welfare. Now, what Michelle Wu is articulating is Saul Alinsky. This is classic Saul Alinsky. And if you want to look for one more than Karl Marx, even Saul Alinsky read Marx and then said, let me apply it to the United States. How will I destroy America so that it'll be ripe for a communist socialist revolution? Well, he imported this theory from Cloward-Piven. The Cloward-Piven theory is if you want to destroy America from within to bring about a Marxist socialist revolution, you have to overwhelm the system. The financial system, the economic system, the bureaucratic system, the political system. And what's the key way to do that? Flood the country with unlimited third world migration. Just tens and tens and tens and tens of millions. And forget billions. She's calling for billions. Tens and tens of millions. And then literally the system is so overwhelmed, it's kaput. The whole thing goes bankrupt. And then you put everybody on a universal basic income, you put everybody on welfare, and you nationalize and take over the country. And that's literally what the Democratic plan is. Michelle Wu is a stone-cold Marxist. She's also a racist and a bigot. Because what she's calling for is for the conquest of America. When you're saying billions have the right to come here, meaning we can't stop them, whether we like it or not, we're obligated to let them in and then to furnish them with all kinds of government welfare benefits. What she's saying is the United States is going to be invaded by foreigners. It's going to be a demographic invasion, and then economically we'll be destroyed because we have to sustain these people and we just can't. We can barely take care. By the way, we're $38 trillion in debt now. We're running $2 trillion deficits now. You want to add another 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 50 million, 100 million? We're done. We're finished. It's over. It's over. We're going to become Venezuela overnight. Overnight. But and by the way, she wants to replace the white population. It's very clear. Because when she says the world, she really means the third world. So this is white replacement. She's a racist. There are too many white people still in America. Erase them. Overwhelm them. But let me ask all of you this. If you drive through Boston, as I do, there's snow everywhere. Nothing has been properly plowed. What is it now? It's been, over a week since that snowstorm? So, as I was saying before Mike cut me off, and I was saying, do your job, and he couldn't let the B. He couldn't let the B in, job. The J and the O he allowed, but not the B. God forbid. But anyway, so, do your job. Forget, philosophizing about the world and the nature of borders and the people's legal rights to come to the United States, and just plow the freaking streets, plow the snow, pick up the garbage. We're not asking for too much here. So I don't know if you've been driving through Boston or not. It's a nightmare. So we had 2 feet of snow, 2 feet, and Mike, when was that, Sandy? When was that snowstorm again? What was that? That was almost 2 weeks ago, right? 10 days ago, 9 days ago, whatever. A week ago yesterday. Okay, forgive me. So a week ago. So 8 days. We're 8 days into this. What? You can't plow. I mean, you got snowbanks everywhere. The streets are a mess, an absolute mess. Some places you can't even navigate through them. This is 8 days later. Garbage is piling up everywhere. Just do your job. Now, one last super quick point. I want to go to the phone lines. They're jammed. Here, the media, because it's such a corrupt, crooked media, and I'm talking about the entire media in this state, they're not reporting this. You have to go to Canada to get this. This is from the Toronto Sun. Okay? You have to go to Canada to get reportage, accurate reporting on what's happening here in Boston. Listen to this, okay? As she's philosophizing about bringing in the entire world into the United States. Listen to this, okay? 2 feet of snow. As I said, 2 feet. Sidewalks blocked. Streets a mess, a disaster. Garbage piling up. Okay? Slush. Snow everywhere. Ice everywhere. This is how Mayor Michelle Wu's team handles snow cleanup. I'm just going to give you the headline in the Toronto Sun. Boston Mayor's chief of staff calls for gender equity in snow removal. That's what her team is. That's what she's obsessed about. Gender equity in snow removal. I mean, I'll get anybody to shovel the snow. Anybody. You know? I mean, just literally anybody. 617. At this point, honestly, I mean, at this point, so what? There's too many plow drivers are male? Is that the problem now? Too many of the the assault trucks are what? They're driven by men? Like, this is the insanity, the absolute insanity that is driving this woman's administration. When people like her take power, run. Run. JD on the North Shore. Thanks for holding, JD, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, JD?
Not too bad. Jeff, last week, a federal judge ruled against the Trump administration that would require proof of citizenship to vote. And this ties into my theory, and I think I'm pretty close. Got to ask yourself, why are all the sanctuary cities and states blue? So Congress and the Senate, the seats are based on the population in a geographical location. The Democrats want to flood blue states and cities with illegals, not just any illegal, destitute, poor illegals. Why? They put them on lavish welfare benefits. And now they have a perpetual voting class that keeps them in power and gives them extra seats in the Congress and the Senate. Now take Minnesota as a microcosm example. Massive, massive fraud in the billions. That's our money. That's taxpayer money. And what do? They set up fake daycares, fake transportation companies, fake autism centers. They siphon off billions of dollars of taxpayer money through the federal government. Then they send it back to the country of origin from where they came from. And the Democrats set up NGOs. The one up in Maine, Gateway, right? Now they take a piece of the pie. It's a giant RICO conspiracy, racketeering thing, Jeff. Keeps them at that perpetual voting base, gives them more power, more control, and then what you touched on, I wanted to say it too, you stole my thunder, Cloward Piven. Collapse of society, bring in a new world order, one world government, communists, they take over. It's very plain to see. And to say and anybody has the right to come here, we're a sovereign nation. A sovereign nation has borders, rules, laws, and norms. And they want to do away with that. You take Russia, China. You can't just walk into their country. They have absolute strict immigration laws. They don't give illegals lavish welfare benefits like they do here. So they just ring the dinner bell with welfare. Brings in their illegals, gives them more power and control, a perpetual voting base that's going to keep them in power. Look at this state, Jeff, Massachusetts. We have a Democrat governor, a Democrat legislature. Every Congress and senator from Massachusetts is a Democrat. It's how they that's how they stay in power, in control, with their thumb on the button of voting and the census.
Oh, you're dead on. I mean, you're absolutely, I couldn't have said it better myself. Look, the only thing I would add is this is the key to their power. You can see it in every blue city, in every blue state. Flood the country with these illegals, mostly from the third world. Give them all the welfare you can. Now, notice, Michelle Wu, that doesn't come. The illegals in Boston, that's not Boston taxpayers who are paying for that. That's people like me and you who live in the suburbs, okay, who live outside of Boston. So what they do is they tax the rest of the state to pay for the illegals in these big blue cities. Okay, that's number one. Number two, look, to put it crudely, but it's true. I mean, I'm sorry, facts are facts. What is the number one racism of our time? We live in a very deeply racist age. It's shockingly racist. It's against whites. Our society is profoundly racist. Just as racist, if not more racist than in the 19th century, except it's aimed against whites, and in particular, whites and Christians. Those are the two groups that the left despises. They hate them. I mean, they revile them. And they want to replace whites and Christians. That's what the plan is. It's so obvious. That's why they love, for example, these Somali migrants. They can't get enough of them. I mean, I'm going to give you guys statistics. It's come out now from the Center for Immigration Studies. And what the Somalis have done, not just to Minneapolis, but to Maine, parts of Boston now, it's unbelievable. It really is. They're there to replace us, period. And I don't just mean the Somalis. It's what they're doing. This is as old as history, going back thousands of years. It's an invasion. You replace one people with another people in the quest for power, control, and domination. And they want to now replace us. That's what this is. And look, I mean, Michelle Wu here, she just came recently and said Somalis built Boston. Somalis built Boston. That we should import more Somalis. And she wants more Somalis to come to the city of Boston. Legal or illegal, she doesn't care. Now, if you know anything about the history of Boston, okay? It wasn't the Somalis who built Boston. With all due respect to the Somalis. The Somalis haven't even built Somalia. So if they can't build Somalia, how the hell are they going to build Boston? Somalia is one of the poorest, most godforsaken places on earth. It's a war zone masquerading as a country. Okay? Their export is pirates. That's their number one export. So this is what I'm talking about. It's deliberate. It's conscious. It's no longer even a theory. They call it the Great Replacement Theory. No, it's Great Replacement Reality. And notice, they never say to replace the Chinese in China. Notice that. They never say replace the Mexicans in Mexico. They never say, replace the Egyptians in Egypt. Have you noticed? It's only the United States, Canada, and Europe. It's in Australia and New Zealand. It's only where you have a majority white population. And that's what I'm talking about. It's pure, unmitigated racism. Destroy whites, you destroy Western civilization. That's how the Marxists think. That's how the radical left think. And that's why I go back to my earlier point. I said, look, how much clearer can this woman make it? She won't even invite white people to a Christmas party. She's a racist. Okay, Michelle Wu now. Her comment has sparked a national debate. Frankly, Boston is in the spotlight again, and not for good reasons. We're starting to now surpass California in terms of the insane radical leftism. And according now to Michelle Wu, and frankly, it's supported by most Democrats now, every person on the planet, according to her, planet Earth, 8.3 billion people have the, quote, legal right to come to the United States and seek asylum. And so my question to you, is she right? Is she right? Or like me, do you believe this woman is wee-oo? She's both insane and frankly evil. Because you have to really hate your country to push something as radical and extreme and fanatical as this. 617-266-6868. CJ in Boston. Thanks for holding, CJ, and welcome.
Jeff, you know, for years I've been calling them the Democratic Communist Party. And as I predicted 5 years ago, that if Michelle Wu ever did 2 terms in the city of Boston as mayor, she would turn Boston into Chicago. And it's happening quickly, as was the tax increase the first of the year of 13%, which is going to increase the rents of most people who rent in the city of Boston, making Boston the second most expensive place to rent in the country. But as your previous caller said, this is their base. That's why they don't want voter ID. You get these people who come in that have no trades, no formal education, can barely write their name, and they're easier to control. That is their base, and they're going to fight. This is the hill that they're going to die on. Immigration is the issue, and the president made a big mistake here. What he should have done with Fry and Waltz is he should have had these people arrested for obstruction. And all these city mayors and city councilors now in the city of Boston are standing behind the governor's new proposal about not letting ICE agents near courthouses or on their way to courthouses and not wear masks. I mean, they got this Wisconsin judge for obstruction and arrested her, and she's facing trial. Why hasn't he taken the initiative to go after these people who are really inciting these people for the violence? This is clearly now, this isn't a question of eliminating ICE. They want to use their voters to make the Democratic Party the only party. They want to make their party a dictatorship of only one party. And the way that they can do that is financially break the back of America financially. And that's what they're doing. They're taking federal dollars, giving these people free everything, free health care. I'll just give you a little taste, Jeff. In late December, this December, my primary care doctor made a referral to one of the major hospitals in the city of Boston for an appointment to see someone. You know the closest appointment I could get? October. I said, October? That's what these people are doing to the healthcare system in this country, what they're doing to the schools in these country. And these communities like outside of Boston are making big mistakes by building new schools and building new facilities, because with that comes bigger police departments, bigger fire departments, and more first responders, which is costing them more money. The end game here, Jeff, is clear now. This is the game that they're going to fight, and they're going to fight. And Donald Trump had better watch his back now, because they're basically saying, hey, it's all out. I mean, when you can go into churches in America and disrupt services violently and have judges throw these out, that's one of the biggest problems in this country, is that we have laws, and we've had laws on immigration. We've had federal law and state law. The problem is these liberal judges are throwing these cases out, and they don't want to be heard. But, Jeff, in ending here, just a word of thanks to the people who got gas and electric bills, because last week on your show, you gave a number out to the public utilities company where they were going to charge nearly 7% interest on that deferred payment on their gas and electric bills. They got more than 1,000 calls between 9:30 in the morning and by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the utilities backed off. So thank you very much for that. And remember, everyone out there, Governor Mauree Healey, when she proudly said, I stopped 2 gas pipelines coming into Massachusetts, she really meant it. The next time you look at your gas bill. But Jeff, just off topic real quick. If we are the biggest producer of natural gas and oil in the world, then why is it these states, not just Massachusetts, you can go to Wisconsin, you can go to Chicago, why is it that these electric companies are continually going up on the rates? It's not the cost of the product. We know that. But again, thank you very much for running that by your
it was my
listeners last
pleasure.
week.
It was my pleasure. And CJ, again, really good call. Every time you call, it's a home run. CJ, thank you so much. No, look, it's these climate change mandates. It's this Green New Deal. That's what's driving up the cost of our energy and utilities. We're the greatest producers of oil and natural gas in the world. Our energy bills should be dirt cheap, but they don't want it to be dirt cheap. Because you see, if you have economy based on oil and natural gas, I'm getting off topic, but actually it's all related. Look, you're free. You're free. Oil and natural gas is for a free market, capitalist, booming, prosperous economy. They don't want you to be free and economically independent. They want you to be dependent. And that's why they want $6, $7, $8, $9 a gallon gas. So you're, whatever, take public transportation. That's what they want. Or have an EV. But remember, with an EV, you're limited how far you can go. You always have to keep charging it. So that's what they want. And remember, who is the biggest EV car manufacturer in the world? It's their motherland, Communist China. Remember, the globalist New World Order has China as the new Rome. China will be the next Roman Empire. So that's why everything the Democratic Party does ultimately benefits Communist China. It's why the Communist Chinese owned Joe Biden. It's why they owned Kamala Harris. It's why they own Tim Walz. It's why they own Michelle Wu. I don't care if she's from Taiwan. She's ethnically Chinese, and her policies resemble very much Communist China. Let's put it this way. She's clearly emulating the China model. There's no question. Beijing wants the world to flood our country. And by the way, she will never say that China should open up its borders. Notice, she never says, everyone has the legal right to go to China. She'll never say that. No. China, they have the right to protect their borders and their sovereignty. Hey, what are you talking about? That's not stolen land. That's China. In America, it's stolen land. Everybody can come and take a piece. That's a traitor. That's what we have. We have a traitor in City Hall and a rabid, disgusting, anti-white racist. That's what she is. Now, after a while, where's our self-respect as a people and as a nation? This woman won re-election unopposed. You want to know why? One of the many reasons why I'm so disgusted by the mass GOP and that joke of a chair, Amy Carnevale. The Republicans didn't even challenge her. There wasn't even a candidate to challenge her. At least put somebody in there, criticize her, show people an alternative, something. They just lay down for the Democrats. That's all they do. Lay down, lay down, lay down. And when somebody like me says, no, let's challenge them, let's fight them, let's oppose them, let's give the people a real alternative, they attack me. They want to take me off the air. So that tells you everything you need to know. 617-266-6868 is the number. John in Marshfield. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Yeah. Hi, Jeff. Good morning.
Hi. My pleasure.
The main question I have for you is, isn't Michelle Wu and all these other Democrat-run cities breaking their oath of office by doing this?
Yes.
Then why can't they be booted out of office if they're breaking their oath?
Well, the problem, John, is, I promise I'll let you finish. You have, I put this up on X a couple days ago. I can't remember now, recently anyway, within the last 3 days. Maura Healey now, we are officially a sanctuary state. She has filed executive orders and as well as legislation, which is going to pass quickly because it's got overwhelming supermajority support in both the state house and the state legislature up on Beacon Hill. Okay, what I like to call Bacon Hill, because it's full of pork. I mean, it's corrupt as corrupt can be. but she's got overwhelming support on Beacon Hill. They're going to fast track this. This thing is going to fly through the state legislature. But until it flies through the state legislature and she actually signs it, she's also passed an executive orders. We are now, Massachusetts, an official sanctuary state. And Healy, to her credit, was open about it. She said, we're following Minnesota. We want in Massachusetts what they have in Minnesota. There will now be no cooperation with ICE on any level for any reason whatsoever. To the point, I'm not kidding, if ICE says we have a warrant, we have a detainer, say for a mass murderer, an illegal alien murderer, or a child rapist, or a gangbanger, or a drug trafficker, can you please just hand them over to us if it's in their jail? Or can you just give us the address so we can go make an arrest? It is illegal for local and state police to help ICE in any way, shape, or form. So what she has said is that federal immigration law does not apply to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's an open insurrection. It's sedition. It's an open insurrection. So the mayor can get away with it because the governor can get away with it. Because the governor is backing the mayor, and the mayor is backing the governor. And the state attorney general, Andrea Campbell, is a Democrat hack who is backing both the governor and the mayor. So it's, again, I don't want to keep coming up with this analogy, but it's very much like the 1850s, 1860, 1861 with these Confederate states. They are now essentially starting to secede from the United States. They are picking and choosing what laws they want to follow, what laws they don't want to follow. And they're increasingly saying that their allegiance is not to the United States. Forget the Constitution. The Constitution for the Democrats is nothing. It's, here, I'm holding up my cut sheet right now. It's as valuable as my cut sheet. It's nothing. Oh, I have all my clips here. But Sandy loads me up with really nice clips. I have about 25 clips for today's show if I want to play, some cuts and clips. There, that's the Constitution to them. Use it, don't use it, follow it, don't follow it, abide by it, don't abide by it. That's what it is. So we have a Department of Justice, but Pam Bondi was on, I don't know if you saw this, she was on Hannity last night. So she arrested Don Lemon and made a couple of arrests, in Minneapolis, and she ran to Fox News. She was on with Hannity. By the way, hair looked great. The nails, the makeup, phenomenal. But I'm looking at myself and I'm like, you have a rolling insurrection now. By the way, Maine has now just followed Massachusetts. So you've got state after state now following Minnesota. And you're doing TV? You're doing your shtick on Fox News? Kash Patel is going to do Bread Bear tonight. So they rotate. So the FBI director does it, then the attorney general does it, and back to the FBI director, and then the deputy, I've noticed now, Todd Blanche, he's on Fox. So he wants to get a little piece of the action as well. Because everybody's angling to be a Fox News analyst once they leave this administration. I'm telling you the truth. That's the problem. So we have a DOJ that's MIA. We have an FBI that's MIA. And Trump is basically by himself. He's got a government shutdown he's desperately trying to avert. And what is the issue that the Democrats now, they're going to die on this hill? Abolish ICE. Defund and abolish ICE. This is the hill now they're going to die on. Because they don't want mass deportations. Because every illegal that you deport is one voter you're deporting from them. So they can't allow that to happen. So this is the problem that we face. And I've got to give the Democrats their due. They have played it beautifully in this state. They control Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 7, Channel 10, Channel 25. They control the Boston Globe. They control WGBH. I mean, they control everything. Every lever they control. And they've bought off the establishment Republicans. You just pay them enough. Like the Boston Herald, that rhino rag. And they will lay down, they're paid to lose. Amy Carnevale is paid to lose to the Democrats. And that's most of the Massachusetts leadership. They're there to take a dive. So I got to hand it to them. They've played their cards beautifully. Look, let me say one last thing, John. We have a mayor who is now at the center of a raging national debate, who the entire country is responding to, who has put forth one of the most insane, evil, destructive ideas, beliefs in the history of the world, that 8.3 billion people have the right, the legal right, to flood and pour into our country. And there's nothing we can or should do about it except give them a kiss on both cheeks and put them on welfare. Okay? This is national suicide. On top of a governor who has just made us an official sanctuary state, which is putting us on a collision course with the federal government, a la Minneapolis. By the way, they're already bussing in protesters. They're bussing in protesters. They were all there in Boston at the plaza. They're bussing them in. I think ICE wants to come in, and now they're putting up their army, their shock troops, to do protests here like they were doing in Minneapolis. And what is the entire media talking about? I'm not talking sports. I'm talking the media in this state. It's the freaking Patriots. It's wall-to-wall Patriots. That's all you say. I'm like, are you sports stations or are you news stations? Yes, of course, it's a big game. It's the Super Bowl. But that's for the sports part of your news coverage. No, there is no more difference between news and sports. It's all Patriots, wall to wall. Most people in Massachusetts have no clue what Michelle Wu said. Most people in Massachusetts have no clue that they're now an official sanctuary state. Because the media is putting wool in their eyes by talking about the Patriots. Because that's all that matters, is the game. Nonstop, the game, around the clock, the game. So I got to say, the Democrats have played this beautifully. And it's going to destroy this state. There's no question to me in the long run. But in the short run, man, they can never get enough power. It's always more power and more power and more power. They remind me of Caligula. It's never enough. John, final word to you.
Well, I think all of them, governor, senator, mayors, judges, if they're left-wing, they're all breaking their oath, and we need to find a way to hold these people accountable. I mean, somehow, because they're breaking the law just as much as the illegals are breaking the law the second they come and touch American soil.
Oh, I agree with you. Look, John, this is our country. This is not Michelle Wu's country. I'm just going to put it bluntly. She doesn't speak for us. She has no business to invite the world to come in here. Joe Biden didn't have the right to tell the world to come in here. J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson in Chicago and Illinois, or Gavin Newsom in California, I could go on and on. Mamdani in New York. They don't speak for us. They don't speak for this country. They don't have the right to turn it into sanctuary cities and sanctuary states and say, come on in, unvetted, unaudited, just come on in by the tens of millions. And no matter how many Americans you murder and how many children you rape and how many women you sexually assault and no matter how many drugs you bring in, it doesn't matter because you all have the right to come. Because this is not a real country and it's not a real nation. It's an illegitimate country, quote unquote, on stolen land. And by the way, the white people in this country are evil, racist, genocidal monsters. So go ahead. They're Nazis. That's why they keep calling us Nazis. So you don't feel bad when we're replaced. It's to justify the invasion. So we, as Americans, have to defend our birthright. We have to defend the land of our forefathers. Someone has to speak up for the founding fathers and their incredible achievements. And this is my response to every single radical Democrat. America, love it or leave it. Period. Period. Because if this is not a legitimate country, then you tell me what country is. If you can't live in this country and respect our heritage, our history, our past, our culture, our constitution, then you can't live in any country. But we've got to say enough is enough. 617-266-6868 is the number. This is from Larry on Messenger. Jeff. Snow is white. Therefore, snow is racist. I don't know. Maybe that's why Michelle Wu doesn't want to have the plows clean up the streets. Who knows? Anyway, God help us. Okay. Just so that you know, this is breaking. I talked about it. I just touched on it earlier, but it's official in South Bay, Dorchester. So in the greater Boston area, it's now, we've got irrefutable proof that countless anti-ICE protesters, they were caught, they were videotaped, boarding buses. They're boarding buses, they're paid. These are, $20-25 an hour. These are paid agitators with their signs. They circulate these signs. They go from all over. They go from Portland, Maine, and they send the signs down, I guess, now to Boston, or they take them from Chicago, or as I like to say, Chicago, and they send them off to Minneapolis. So they're circulating, in many ways, the same protesters and the same signs. This is all very well funded, very well organized. Well, they've got buses now, and they're in Boston. They're loading protests and these anti-ICE agitators onto buses with their protest signs. So, and that's because they're anticipating a potential ICE raid or an ICE operation in the wake now of Maura Healey, Hold It Healey, or Heat Pump Healey, as many of you are calling her. Heat Pump is now officially made Massachusetts a sanctuary state. And I think they're itching for a confrontation. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I just want to read this very, very good text message, and then I'll go right back to the phones. It's from 781. Jeff, you are 1,000% correct. The legacy media in Massachusetts will never, ever call out either Hold It Healey or Marxist Michelle Wu. And the irony is, companies and taxpayers are fleeing Massachusetts. This means businesses suffer, which means they have less money to spend on advertising, both on television, radio, and print. Local media people are losing their jobs, and yet they continue to staunchly protect such obvious, incompetent, failed leaders as staunchly as possible. It makes no sense. Well, it does, because if you know the people in the media, they're just as crazy as Michelle Wu. See, the thing about these media people, they're not media. They're Democrat activists, really propagandists, almost anti-ICE agitators or activists on the streets, masquerading as journalists. There is no journalism in this state. I mean, have they uncovered a single corruption story? And by the way, it's as bad here as it is in Minneapolis. That I can guarantee you. So you've got $19 billion of fraud. This is maybe the greatest theft of taxpayer dollars in the history of the United States. And that's just in one city. And you're telling me that the entire local media can't uncover $1 in welfare fraud or welfare theft? I mean, come on. Come on. I mean, these people are a joke. The I-Team. And by the way, all they do is sports and weather. Have you noticed that? Oh, and anti-Trump hatred. That's it. Hate Trump, and then it's all, one idiot with his hair blowing, and, it's getting really windy. Oh, this is going to be bad. Or get ready, we're going to have 20 inches of snow. And the Patriots. That's it. That's your news. I've given you your news. And Trump is bad. Evil man, dictator, Nazi. There you go. Here. You don't have to listen to him. You're good for the day now. Brooks in Florida. Thanks for holding, Brooks, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Brooks.
I was listening to what you were saying, and a couple of thoughts came to mind. And I think part of the difficulty here, let's talk about quickly problem solution, right? So the problem with what Boston is experiencing, Massachusetts, is the same paradigm that all the blue states are facing, which is that we have zero consequences. And it's kind of like the age-old adage, continue to do the same thing and expect a different result equals insanity. So maybe, just maybe, Trump may be playing a card that I want to bend your ear on. I don't think it's conspiratorial. I don't think that it's out in left wing. It might be a possibility. If we can't get any traction within the courts, we can't get any traction within the George Soros prosecutors, we continue to get the same results over and over and over. He won this election mostly on immigration. That being said, what if somehow, some way, he was able to sift through, call it the good guys and the bad guys, through that apparatus, through that means of getting the bad guys out of here, he then somehow, some way, in a very Trumpian means, is able to gain the hearts and the minds of the people and say, okay, we are going to find a path to citizenships on the good guys.
Brooks, can you please hang on? I'm up against a hard break. I want you to finish your thought. 617-266-6868 is the number. We just lost Brooks. He literally just fell. Okay, so I think I know the argument he was trying to make. Hopefully we'll get him back. But let me just lay it out for you. Give me 30 seconds. I think Brooks's argument is, look, Jeff, what if Trump has a master plan? And the master plan is sort of great maneuver, which is get the dangerous, violent criminals out. The worst of the worst. Clean them out. And then with the remaining illegal aliens, those that, aren't the convicted murderers or rapists or child molesters or pedophiles or sex traffickers or drug traffickers or whatever. Those that, don't commit dangerous, violent crimes. They came into this country illegally, yes, but other than that, they haven't committed other serious crimes. And Trump puts a path to amnesty on the table. Basically saying, vote for me, vote for the Republicans, and we will give you a path to amnesty. Maybe not citizenship for now, but we will legalize your status and you can stay in the United States. Oh, we got him back? Okay, good. Let's go back to Brooks because I don't want to put words in his mouth. Brooks, am I correct in what you were kind of implying? In other words, give a path to those that haven't committed violent crimes, and maybe then Trump can win over a lot of these illegals and flip the issue against the Democrats. Is that where you were going there, Brooks?
Yeah, that's the pond I'm fishing in, Jeff. And so I want to backtrack on this quickly, but yeah, you've got it. I mean, the problem is that we're just spinning our tires in mud. I don't think that we have just the logistical means to get, all 30 million out. I mean, for years and years we heard it was 12 million, but you've gone over the metrics on your show. Let's just put 30 million on the table. It would be impractical to remove 30 million. So yes, I think there might be a possibility whereby he's able to find a path of citizenship, and then somehow, some way, convince them, since we got them now here on a legal working status or some means of citizenship, then they're going to vote red. And so there's just, if you think about it, if we're not getting any action in the court, we've been putting a lot of pressure on Pam Bondi, but now I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, geez, you know what? What can she do if all these judges are just going to overturn these cases? Just look at Garcia Albrego. I've mispronounced his name, but that's a perfect example of how frustrating this process is. So maybe there's a means that Trump is considering in the background that we're going to have to change the hearts and minds of these dreamers, illegals, people that are here. And, the sad truth of it is, if you just look around in any city, any metropolitan area, they're everywhere, and they're not all criminals. We get it, but they got here illegally, and we're going to have to either find a means of putting a Santa Claus list together of who's naughty and who's nice. What other avenue do we have if these courts are going to continue to erode the law and allow the Michelle Wu's to gain power? He's going to have to create a psychological shift and turn the remainder of these illegals somehow, some way into citizens. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, it's to me, there's another option, and it doesn't have to just be deportation. We don't even have to use deportation that much if Trump would do two things. One, and he could do this through executive order, impose a national E-Verify system. So this way, businesses are mandated by law. They can't hire or keep employed illegal aliens. And if they do, they're going to suffer massive, severe penalties. So that's going to be a big discouragement for businesses to hire illegals. If illegals can't get jobs, they're dead in the water. They don't have a means to support themselves. Now, the only other way is through welfare. Well, if you crack down by cutting federal funding and saying you have illegal aliens, and you want to be a sanctuary state or a sanctuary jurisdiction, then we are going to cut all federal funds. And that includes, yes, money for Medicaid, money for these, social welfare programs. So if the illegals then can't get welfare money and they can't get a job, that's it. You're going to see the greatest self-deportation in the history of humanity. You see, they're here for the money. If there was no money, they wouldn't be here. So either it's through welfare, which is what many of them do, and for some, they also work under the table. But you cut off both sources of their income stream, they're done. They're toast. It's over. You have some violent, dangerous criminals you're going to have to forcibly deport. But for the most part, 85 to 90% are going to have to self-deport, and they will self-deport. So what I'm saying is we have many, I hate to use that term, but tools in the toolbox. We have many weapons at our disposal. I don't understand why. We're just not using them. And I think one of the reason is that Trump doesn't want to alienate the business community because he needs a booming economy to win the midterm elections. And the business community does not want E-Verify because many of them are complicit in hiring illegals. And I think he doesn't want to cut federal funding because there's going to be collateral damage. A lot of people are not going to get, whatever. It's going to impact schools. It's going to impact hospitals. It's going to impact Medicaid. It's going to impact roads. So they're going to say, hey, no, we're against this because it's hurting us. So I think Trump now is, he's caught between a rock and a hard place. But to me, this can be done in 3-4 months. If we're really serious about repelling this invasion, you explain to the American people, look, I'm up against seditionist Democrats. And I don't use that term lightly. He's got to explain it to the American people. This is a full-blown insurrection. And I want you to understand who they're protecting. And as a president, I cannot allow this to happen. And so I'm going to have to cut all federal funding, which is what he's threatened to do. In fact, he gave the February 1st deadline. I don't know why he's not acting on it. So far, he's done nothing. But I'm going to cut them off. They can't get jobs. Those jobs are for Americans or legal residents, and they can't get welfare. That's for, again, American citizens. And I think if he makes that case, the country will rally to him as they did in the election in 2024. But look, what I see now, to be brutally honest with you, Brooks, he's got Iran now pending. They're talking about bombing the regime. He's got Venezuela. He's got Russia, Ukraine. He wants to rebuild Gaza. He's got a partial government shutdown. He's got a rebellion within the Republican Party. He's got an insurrection in Minneapolis. He's got so much on his plate right now. And it's almost like he's fighting alone. And one of the things I urged him, and I promise I'll give you the last say on this, Brooks, is I begged him. I said, one of the things you're going to have to do right away is rescind what Obama did when he repealed the Smith-Mundt Act. You're going to have to rescind what Obama did. You have to restore the Smith-Mundt Act, because that's going to stop all of the propaganda from the media. And that's going to be a massive asset for you. It's going to help your presidency. Until he starts repealing the Smith-Mundt Act, restoring the Smith-Mundt Act and repealing what Obama did, the media is going to continue to hammer him day after day after day. And that means they're going to continue to set the narrative. This insurrection in Minnesota is directly being caused by the Democrats and by the media. So to me, Trump made a key mistake. He should have restored the Smith-Mundt Act on day one. And the fact that he didn't is now hurting him and hurting him bad. Brooks, final word to you.
I completely concur, and I think the condition that you laid out by going through E-Verify and cutting off federal funding, that has to happen. I mean, and you're right. He put that on the dinner table for February 1st. It's hard to put that toothpaste back in the tube. He's going to have to go through it. Or we're going to, as I said, we're going to continue to get the same results. The other item you mentioned was to impose punitive damages on companies that hire, the landscapers, carpenters, plumbers, all of the help we do need as a country. The cropping industry, my gosh. Anyway, to impose fines on the companies that put these workers out there is going to be, again.
No, it's going to hurt business. I mean, I get that. And look, again, Brooks, very, very coherent, a very, very thoughtful call, and I really appreciate it. Okay, let me play the clip again because it's going to set up the poll question of the day. Mike, roll cut 21. This is Michelle Wu, Marxist Michelle, March of last year. We actually talked about it last March. It was a shocking, unbelievable comment. But now it's resurfaced thanks to Trump's top political advisor, Stephen Miller. And it is now, when I mean everywhere, it is everywhere. Members of Congress are talking about it. Governors are talking about it. Media, the whole media is talking about it because to me, it completely embodies the central fundamental belief that is driving now the radical Democrat Party. Roll cut 29, Mike.
Every person, every human being has the legal right to come to the United States and seek asylum or shelter.
So every human being on planet Earth, according to her, has the right to come to the United States, to come here, to live here, to seek shelter, to get shelter, i.e. welfare. And we as Americans are obligated to let them all come in. That's 8.3 billion people on Earth. So in theory, 8 billion can come. And we have to take care of them. Food stamps, housing, education, you name it, everything. And this is obviously what's driving open borders. It's what's driving globalism. It is what's driving their opposition to ICE. their opposition to mass deportations, their support for sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. And so my question to you, it is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. When Boston Mayor Michelle Wu said every human on earth has the legal right to come to the United States, did she mean it? Or was she just pandering for votes? So A, she meant it. B, this was just pandering. A, meant it. B, pandering. I think she completely meant it. I think no truer words from her point of view have ever been spoken. This is Saul Alinsky. This is Cloward Piven. Frankly, this is Karl Marx. This is Marxism. No nations, no borders, no national sovereignty, one world government, new world order. She said the quiet part out loud. And Stephen Miller, to me, is not 100, but 1,000% correct when he said this clip, this statement, is the organizing principle of the Democratic Party. Everything, as he puts it, flows downstream from this. And he's completely right. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN is in national ER. You can also vote via X. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN is in national ER. I want to say this right up front, because this needs to be said. Since nobody in the Boston media or in the Massachusetts media has the guts to call out Michelle Wu, I am challenging her to come on this show and defend what she just said. I will give her all the time in the world. I give you my word of honor. In fact, I'll even we'll set up even rules for this interview in which Mike will be instructed that Michelle Wu will have 3 minutes of uninterrupted time to speak to my 1 minute. So after 1 minute, he can cut me off in mid-sentence, as he loves to do, and go right back to Michelle Wu, and she will have another 3 minutes. It'll be 3-1. 3-1. And it'll be a 12-minute segment, okay? So she can come on this show for 12 minutes, and I will give her 3 minutes to my 1 minute. And I'm asking her if she has the guts to come on this show. She doesn't have to come in person. She can do by the phone, whatever's most convenient for her. We can do a pre-recorded if she doesn't want to do 6 to 10 in the morning. Anytime she wants, we can do it pre-recorded at another time at her convenience. I am challenging her to come on this show and debate me on whether every human being on the planet Earth has the legal right, as she puts it, to come to the United States, in particular to Boston and Massachusetts, and the right to shelter and welfare. Come on my show and debate me. If you have the guts, if you have the true courage of your convictions, and you're convinced that you're right, come on my show, 3 minutes to my 1 minute. Uninterrupted. You will never be interrupted. You will have 3 minutes. All you got to do is listen to me for 1 minute. And then you get another 3, I get another 1, and then you get the final 3. So basically all I've got is 2 minutes. All I need is 2 minutes. I'm telling you, Michelle Wu will not come on. I hope I'm wrong. I'm telling you I'm not wrong. Because she knows that 120 seconds is more than enough for me to destroy her entire preposterous, insane, frankly, evil, racist, and treasonous idea. And I would say right away, you're advocating for the conquest of America. Shame on you. You're calling for the replacement of the entire white population, you disgusting racist. And that's it. It's over. It's over. That's it. Just you want more? Here, I'll pile on. You know, like in the UFC. You know, the when they fight in those cages. Okay, mixed martial arts, and the guy's already down. They just keep pounding him in the head. Okay, here it is. We can barely take care of 340 million people. We've got $38 trillion in debt, $2 trillion deficits. How are we going to take care of 8 billion, 5 billion, 1 billion even? We do anything close to what you're suggesting, we are financially destroyed, economically ruined. It's over. That's it. Bye-bye. End of debate. She can yak and yak and yak for 9 minutes. It doesn't matter. That's why she won't come on. 617-266-6868. Rob in Dedham. Thanks for holding, Rob, and welcome.
Jeff. Make sure, Jeff, if she accepts, you give her the ashes so she can put the cross on her forehead. Okay?
Yeah, she'll probably bring her baby as well.
It's okay.
It's about the children. It's about the children.
Here, shame. Remember now the famous saying, "Shame on Wu." Hey, so Jeff, let's keep our eye on the ball. The number one issue is the 2020 election. We cannot go forward unless we adjudicate the stolen election. And the easy thing to do for the invaders is just obviously step on the air hose, and you step on the banks, all the businesses, all the places they can live, and there's no more money coming in. And then those states, those blue states will hemorrhage, which is fine. This is great. Trump doesn't want to step on the message for the economy because that's going to pop. Once that pops, this is all a diversion. Who cares? Chuck Schumer. Always remember, all these protests can only last 2 weeks at a time. Then they all run out of gas. That's a proved science thing.
Rob, what do you make now that they're getting even more radical and more extreme? And forget even Minneapolis and Minnesota. Let's just take Boston and Massachusetts. Now Michelle Wu says the whole world has a right to come. Healy now, as you know, with these latest executive orders, with the legislation now that she's filed, with full support of the entire Democratic Party, they've made Massachusetts officially a sanctuary state. They're almost begging now for a collision and confrontation with ICE, with Kristi Noem, with President Trump. Why do you think they're not just doubling, they're now tripling down? Are they itching for a showdown? Does Michelle Wu have presidential aspirations and thinks that she can become the darling of the left? Does Healy have presidential aspirations? In other words, it's a race to who's the craziest now? Is that what's going on? Are they all angling to run for the presidency in 2028? What's your take on this, Rob?
Well, it's very simple. If you look at them, you can never trust a berserk woman, okay? And besides white males, we cannot be racist because we are a minority in the world. So that's impossible. Well, who cares what she's going to do? It's all the same. They're trying to hide the invader, that new game show they play in Boston now. They got to hide the invader, and that's the whole deal. Without the invaders, they can't get elected.
Interesting.
They'll do anything to keep in power.
Interesting. No, I agree with you, Rob. It's obvious now illegal immigration is the key to their power and control. Rob, as always, thank you so much for that call. Anne in New Hampshire, thanks for holding, Anne, and welcome.
I would like to discuss the idea that 40 years ago we did the same thing with President Reagan. Him and Tip O'Neill came up with a deal. They were going to do exactly this kind of thing. We were going to go legal path to citizenship, and what happened? We're back to square one. I don't think that this is a good idea to agree with to have these people get past to citizenship just like that. And then the second part of this is what happened to the people who were standing in line? Where did they go? That doesn't seem fair to me.
Well, Anne, look, let me put my cards on the table. I think amnesty is the road to ruin. You want to destroy the United States, that's it. I think we will never recover. I would oppose amnesty for illegal aliens with every fiber in my being. Because you're right, we did a much smaller amnesty with Reagan and Tip O'Neill in the late 1980s. And look what it gave us. It encouraged even more illegal immigration. It wasn't just 2 million, it became 20 million, and now it's 40 million. So I think once you reward that kind of law breaking, that kind of violation of our sovereignty, you're basically, A, you're ringing the dinner bell for the entire world to come. That's number one. Number two, most of these illegals, 95% plus, are going to vote for the Democrats for the rest of their lives. Because why? They're dependent upon government benefits. There's no question. Look, all you have to do is look at California or look at Massachusetts, look at Minneapolis, look at Minnesota. Everywhere where you have massive illegal alien populations, the Democrats, it's one-party rule. So why would we then do this on a national level? That's why the Democrats are itching for amnesty. And to me, what's incredible is that you have Republicans like Lindsey Graham and among many others who are so suicidal, so stupid, so self-destructive that they're willing to sign off on it. No, really, it's the equivalent of saying, you know what? Let's play Russian roulette. And eventually, don't worry, when the bullet blows your brains out, when you put your gun up to your temple and blows your brains out, it's okay. It's all going to work out fine. Amnesty will finish this country as surely as dropping a nuclear bomb. It would be the end of America. So, and by the way, it would shatter Trump's base. I think middle America would revolt. I think MAGA would turn on Trump. Politically, it would be suicide for Trump, suicide for the Republican Party. So I think it's wrong on moral grounds, legal grounds, political grounds, constitutional grounds, civilizational grounds. We grant amnesty, we become a third world country overnight. And I don't want to become the United States of Venezuela. Call me crazy. And final word to you.
Well, we're leading to this if we don't get a handle on this, because we did this in a very small scale back with the Reagan days. But I recall this conversation and this debate they had, him and Tip O'Neill, and they were doing it in a friendly manner. Now we're at odds with everybody. So this just can't work. And I really feel strongly that we have too many people to be able to do this with. And also, I really don't like the idea that somebody who came across the border illegally, I don't care if they didn't do anything else after that. They started their whole time in the United States by breaking the law. And then we are protecting them everywhere we go, and we're paying for everything. So in my mind, we did it in 1986. We do it again 40 years later, and we're just, what else can we say? They are going to be Democrat voters for the rest of their life because they're still going to get all the benefits.
Bingo.
And we're going to be picking up the tab.
Except this time it'll be legal, right? If they become, amnesty, they'll be legally eligible for all these benefits. It's also going to, by the way, financially and economically bankrupt us. Like, just economically, it's suicide. But, let that go, as I like to say. And very good call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Look, just very quick. Reagan did it with Tip O'Neill. And it took time for the amnesty to kick in. In other words, they got legal, and then eventually they had the right to vote. Now, remember, Reagan did it because he thought, well, they're going to finally build that fence, the wall. They'll finally secure the southern border. Well, the fence never came. But, of course, the amnesty did. And most of the amnesty went to illegals that happened to live in California. California, believe it or not, used to be, that was Reagan-Nixon country. California used to be a Republican stronghold. And the moment they got their amnesty, bang, shazam, California went Democratic. In our parlance today, it went blue, and it's never looked back. So what I'm saying is all you got to do is look at California. You have the demographics of California. You have the politics of California. 617-266-6868. Bill in Medfield. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
Yeah.
Hi, Bill.
Yep. It's good to know that all the people in the world are going to come, but you forgot half of the world isn't allowed in because they're Republicans, right? So that's only 4 or 5 billion that are allowed in, right?
Bill, what about the aliens? No, really, if I had extra time with Michelle Wu, if she agrees to do this debate, I'd love to ask her, well, what about the space aliens? I mean, do they have a legal right to come? I mean, I'm just saying, why are you being species biased? I'll use their own language against them. Why are you discriminating against other species? What if, Martians want to come? Why are you prohibiting them from coming? She's so freaking crazy, Bill. I swear to you. She'd say, no, even space aliens have the legal right to come. I guarantee you that's how crazy this woman is. But, Bill, I digress. Please go ahead, my friend.
Okay, here's one of my theories. Why can't Trump visit all the Mexico, Central America, and South American countries and tell them we're going to put up like a 500% tariff if you don't come, like 5,000 people, I don't know what type law enforcement they would use, to come to America to bring their citizens back, or we're going to raise the tariffs gigantically and we're not buying any of your goods and products. What do you think of that one?
No, I like that. I mean, E-Verify, cut off the welfare. The other thing I'd like, Bill, honestly, the remittances. The money that they send, these illegals send back to the home country where they're from. Tax that. Tax it. 50%, 60%, 70%. If they can't send the money back home, many of them are going to go back home. What I'm saying is, Bill, everything's got to be on the table. And you're right. Tell their countries where they came from, you come pick them up. Or at a bare minimum, wait for them at the border. We'll bring them to the border, or they'll self-deport to the border. And then you just put them in buses and send them back. Look, either we're a country or we're not a country. Either we have borders or we don't have borders. Either we're a sovereign constitutional republic or we're this Marxist third world hellhole that Michelle Wu and Mamdani and the Democrats want to create. Really, it's up to us now. But you're completely right, Bill. Enough is enough. Stop playing defense. We've got to go on offense. Bill, thank you very much for that call. Jeff in Chelsea. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
Thank you much, Jeff. Well, Jeff, as far as Michelle Wu is concerned, this woman is evil. And what I see coming eventually is when the normies start starving in the South and Midwest, they will speak loud and vote in an Augusto Pinochet type to clean the mess up. Study the politics of Augusto Pinochet back in the 80s. That's what's coming. An American Augusto Pinochet that will start torturing communists and Islamists and so forth. It will not be pretty. Study the Latin American dictatorships of the 60s under Brazil with the death squads. All the garbage you see happening in Latin America will be transported to our soil. We will split in a couple of countries. When people starve, they'll vote for the man with the mustache, either Hitler or Augusto Pinochet or Francisco Franco or Stalin. We'll get the Stalin. The South and Midwest will get the Augusto Pinochet. I'm scared. I studied history, and so have you. We are heading into some very dark territory.
Well, that's why we've got to cut them off now, Jeff. Look, we can win this. This can all be prevented, but we've got to move. We elected Trump to take our country back. We've got to take our country back because you're right. You import the third world. You don't just become the third world. Okay. The discussion so far, I mean, it's been a wonderful discussion. Don't get me wrong, but let's move it from the theoretical to the very practical and the real. In other words, what have the Democrats done? they have taken Michelle Wu's advice, and they have flooded our country with tens and tens of millions of illegals, okay? With, quote, the legal right of every human being to come to the United States. Fine. So, here they are. Take the Somali community, because they're now in the spotlight. Listen now to President Trump saying that they haven't added to the value of the United States. For the most part, I'm sure certain individuals have, but for the most part, as a community, as a group, they haven't added to the value of Minneapolis. They haven't added to the value of Portland, Maine, or in Lewiston, Maine. They haven't added to the value of Boston here in Massachusetts. So why do we have them? Why are we bringing in peoples that clearly are a massive burden, and many of whom, not just a massive burden and not just a drain, but many of whom commit fraud, theft, violence, they bring crime, they refuse to assimilate. Why would we want to do that to our country? It's time to deport every single one of them. Listen now to President Trump. Roll cut 4, Mike.
These are people that don't work. These are people that are just not an asset to our society, to put it mildly. And we got to get them out, most of them. And it's most of them.
I want to tell the audience.
92% don't work.
Yeah.
And they have an unbelievable system, corrupt system of welfare. You know, many of them drive Mercedes-Benzes. They had nothing when they came over. The good news is, you notice they don't see ships being stolen anymore from Somalia? Because we hit those guys with the same weapon that we take out the drug dealers from the ocean. We stop. Every time we hit a boat, we knocked out. We saved 25,000 lives. Each boat, and pretty accurate, each boat is responsible for the death of 25,000 Americans. Think of that, okay?
So basically, look, let's deport most of these Somalis. Many of them are illegals, or if they're technically legal, they've committed immigration fraud, and they really are illegal. Denaturalize them and deport them. Now, let me just give you some numbers, okay? Now, and we're just talking now about, what is it, a million Somalis? That's what we're talking about. I'm not talking 8.3 billion people. Okay, we're just talking now Somalis in Minneapolis, in Maine, and a little bit here in Boston, okay, in Massachusetts. So the Center for Immigration Studies, listen to this, released a report which focused almost exclusively on Somali-headed households in the entire United States. And here is what they found. Listen to this. 88% of the Somalis with children are on welfare. 88%. Now, 81% children, no children, are on welfare. 81% on welfare. By the way, many of them have been here for 10, 15 years. I'm not talking they just came off the boat, the pirate ship, 6 months ago. They've been here now for a generation, some for 2 generations. Okay? So, 88% with children are on welfare. 81% children, no children, are on welfare. That's a staggering number. 54% receive SNAP, food stamps. 73% receive Medicaid. We pay for that. We pay for all this. 66% are at or near the poverty rate. It's funny. They're all poor, but they're driving fancy cars. And they're running daycare centers, less slush funds and shell companies where they're raking in millions and millions of dollars of cash. But let that go. They have a 40% unemployment rate. 40% don't speak English well or at all. 41% don't even have a high school education. Now, Do we really want them here? Is this, diversity is our strength? How does this strengthen us? How does this make us better? They're not American. They don't believe in assimilating. They're open about that. They're stealing money from us through massive welfare fraud and all these scams that they've set up to the tune of billions and billions and billions of dollars a year. And many of them are sending the money back to Islamist warlords and Al-Qaeda terrorists. Back in the old country. Okay, back in the old country. So let me ask all of you, in all seriousness, is this what America needs? Is Trump right? Should we deport Somalis? Just deport them? And do we really want to keep bringing in the entire world? Because this is what most of the entire world looks like. 617-266-6868 is the number. Couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Walter in Westboro. Thanks for holding, Walter, and welcome.
Me. Good morning.
Good morning, Walter.
I don't know if anyone's mentioned this already, but you'll recall when Reagan did his thing with the Democrats and Tip O'Neill. Typical Democrats, of course. They lie, they cheat. So Reagan signed this deal with them for amnesty, basically, and the Democrats said, don't worry about it. We'll take care of the securing the border afterward, which, of course, they didn't do. So, we're dealing with people who will lie and steal and do whatever they can to ultimately wreck our country. The other thing is this: we're at war. The bottom line is these people aren't crazy. You keep saying they're crazy and what have you. No, that's too gracious a language for these people. What they are is they're committed New World Order communists, and they're using the various groups, including the Islamists, to wreck this country. And then in the end, I believe what they're going to try to say or do is they think they'll just do away with the Muslims after they conquer this country. Of course, the Muslims think they'll come in and they'll do away with the New World Order types, mind you. But let's not call them crazy. Let's call them what they are. They're calculated. They're our enemy, and we need to handle our business. But we're in the mess we're in because we, the people, have been lazy, and that's what we got.
Walter, I agree with you completely. What I would add to lazy, you're right, apathetic. I think that's our problem, is not just laziness, it's apathy. And I think our apathy now is catching up with us. I agree with you. And look, when I mention how they're insane, what I mean by insane is they're going to do untold damage, unmitigated damage, and they don't care. They just don't care. And everywhere they've taken power, they destroy. All they do is destroy. And, what I find to me absolutely unbelievable is this is supposed to be the mayor of a major U.S. city. She's run it into the ground. Taxpayers are fleeing. Businesses are fleeing. Crime is everywhere. Homelessness is everywhere. You have drug addicts. You have these discarded drug needles. You can't even take your children to the park. And this Marxist fanatic, and that's what she is. She's a Marxist fanatic. This admirer of Chinese communism now tells us that every human being on the planet has the right to, the legal right to come to the United States. And she's still in office. And not only is she still in office, this is what's incredible. Nobody outside of me in the Boston media is challenging her, is confronting her. First of all, on just the basic grounds of you're a freaking mayor, stay in your lane. Like the shovel, once you start shoveling some snow, the snow is still on the ground from 8 days ago. The streets are a mess. People can't even navigate through the city. The garbage is piling up. So how about you just take care of the potholes and the garbage and the snow? How about that? Because that's what you're supposed to do as a mayor. Okay? But leave that alone, Walter. This woman is going to tell us and the United States how to run immigration policy. And not only that, but we're talking infinite immigration, infinite welfare. Like, nobody is that stupid. Really. I mean, even Michelle Wu, nobody is that stupid. You bring in 500 million, we're finished. You bring in 200 million, we're finished. You bring in another 10, 20 million, we're finished. Nobody can pay for this. Like what, you just create money out of thin air? Like, you don't understand resources are limited? There's only so much any country can do, how many people they can absorb, even if you believe in her propaganda and her commie, Marxist, socialist, open borders ideology. Now, and it's deeper than this, and I want to get your take on this, Walter. And this is where it leads to. This is where inevitably it leads to, because remember, the core of Marxism, as you know probably better than I do, erase borders, erase the nation state, erase national sovereignty, create a one world order. That's the heart of Marxism. But it also says destroy property and destroy the family. In other words, destroy the home. Well, think about it, okay? Just forget people around the world. I can't just come into your home. I don't have a right to come into your home. It is a privilege for me to come to your home. Only if you allow me in, you open the door and you say, yes, Jeff, you have the right to come in for dinner, for lunch. You want to sleep over, whatever. Or if I've hit hard times, I go, hey, Walter, things are bad. I need some place to sleep. Could you put me up for a week or a month or a year or whatever? That's up to you. So, yeah, I have the freedom of movement. You have the freedom of movement. You and I are free to leave our home and walk the streets and whatever, go shopping or whatever we want to do. But to enter your home, I need your permission. For you to enter my home, you need my permission. In other words, coming into your home is not a right. Coming into my home, anyone's home, it's a privilege. I can knock on the door. You can say, no, you're not coming in. Or who comes in and who doesn't come in. It's the same thing with countries. People can knock all they want. They may want to come, but they don't have a right to come in. This is our homeland. Okay, our country is our homeland. They don't have just the legal right to come in. So what the principle she's establishing, you see, it's all connected. If you don't have the right to your country, you don't have the right to your property. You don't have the right to your home. You don't have the right to your family. Anybody can enter your home. Anybody can come in and do what they want. Come, go, stay. So, and eventually what that means is you don't have private property. You don't have control over your home and your property. It belongs to the public, ultimately to the state, to the government. So my question to you, Walter, do people have the right, do strangers have the right to enter your home without your permission? And if they don't have the right to enter, for example, you can't enter Michelle Wu's home. She doesn't even want protesters in front of her house. She called the cops and literally had them forcibly taken away, and now they're on an enemies list. So you see, her home, that's sacrosanct. You don't have permission to go in. But our home, our country, our homeland, that's not sacrosanct. The whole world can come in. Do people have the right to enter your home without your permission? In other words, is it a privilege or is it a right? Immigration is a privilege. It's not a right. Am I wrong, Walter?
You're right. But the problem is, do you remember when Trump was campaigning, he kept telling the story of the snake?
Yes.
The snake was injured, yes. And you brought it in, and this guy nurtured it, and all of a sudden it reared its head and it bit it and killed the guy. And then he told him, hey, you knew what I was when you brought me in. So we've done that, and we can reverse this. So I would encourage everybody listening to don't give up. We need to be diligent. We can't change everything. But, we can act where we are. Whatever town you're in, whatever you're doing, every conversation, we can be engaged and involved. And we can't let them have an inch, because look what they've done to our nation. We violated what Jefferson said. So Jefferson said the cost of liberty and freedom is diligence. We haven't been diligent. We left our country in the hands of politicians, and here we are. They don't have the right to come in here, but we've forsaken that right through our lack of diligence. So let's turn the course. Let us be diligent from this point forward, and I would say let us be prayerfully diligent as we take these people on.
Walter, very eloquent, very powerful. I could not have said it better myself. Thank you so much for that call, Walter. Look, and I blame Republicans as well. I'm going to be honest. It's not just the Democrats. Yes, the Democrats clearly invited them in, but let's be honest. Let's be candid. As the French say, entre nous, among us. If the Republicans really wanted the illegals out, they would have been out. They would have been out. They would have been out a long time ago. I mean, I've been mentioning solutions all show. They would have pushed E-Verify. They would have passed it. They would have, they would have passed a law. Even now, Trump is begging them to pass a law to ban sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. They would have cut federal funding to every sanctuary state or every sanctuary city. So it's because the Democrats were colluding. They wanted the cheap labor. Their donors said, keep those borders wide open because we want the cheap labor. And so both parties colluded against us. That's why Trump, no truer words were ever spoken when he said, let's drain the swamp. I want you to listen now to Republican Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana. He was on Fox. And he now says, look, he deals with the Democrats on a daily basis. He deals with Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, you name it, right? Just right down the line. He deals with every Senate Democrat. He also, of course, has to deal with AOC. He's often in talks with Bernie Sanders. And he says, let me tell you right now, the Bolshevik wing of the Democratic Party is now in full control. The left-wing lunatics are running the asylum. Roll cut 15, Mike.
Heron wing, the loon wing, Bolshevik wing, whatever you want to call it, Jackie, is firmly in control of the Democratic Party. And whether we ever pass a bill, a budget for the Department of Homeland Security will require our Democratic leadership to embrace adulthood, because that's what this discussion is all about. It's not, as it should be, a discussion of the efficient use of taxpayer money and funding ICE and DHS. It's just the Karen wing of the Democratic Party wants to defund ICE. They believe in open borders. They also wanted to defund the cops, defund police. We know how that vampire movie turned out. Now they've moved on to defunding ICE. And the Democrats, the leadership anyway, not people like John Fetterman, but the Democrats are scared of it.
Because they're Bolsheviks. They have become captured by the Bernie, AOC, Mamdani, Michelle Wu wing of the Democratic Party. And it's these Marxist communists, and they are evil to their core. Communism is evil. All you have to do is look at its record. Look what it's done. Look how many people it's murdered, how many people it's jailed, imprisoned, tortured. And this is now what's controlling. This is the preeminent ideology that is now dominating the Democratic Party. Now, I just want to read to you two quick texts. And because ultimately the goal of this woke Marxism is really to erect a communist anti-white regime. They want an anti-Christian, anti-white, anti-American regime. That's their fundamental goal. And so I want you to listen to this, because this is from 781, and the numbers this person cites are dead on. This is just an historical fact of what the Democrats deliberately have done. And this was deliberate. Jeff, The numbers don't lie. Until the disaster of Senator Ted Kennedy's 1965 immigration legislation, which mandated the preference for non-white immigrants, New York City, to take just one example, was about 90% white. Today, New York City is only 30% white. That's all you need to know. And the plunge in this non-white ratio is similar in every major American city. Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, you name it. As late as 2020, Maine was ranked the Lily State with a 95% white population and the lowest crime rate in the country, despite some of the great poverty, especially in the rural parts of the state. Yet with the mass invasion of third world illegals into Maine, ushered in by that corrupt leftist Governor Janet Mills, the state has seen a 700% rise in violent crime in Maine's southern and central cities. And we're not even talking about the multi-billion-dollar fraud that is in Maine with the Somalis who are doing there just what they've done in Minnesota. The numbers don't lie. You import the third world, you become the third world. It's unpleasant, but it's true. It's, again, the great replacement. Their goal is to drown the country with third world illegal aliens to conquer America and ultimately to replace the native white population. And why? All you have to do is look at the universities. Look at what they teach in public school. Look at critical race theory. Look at DEI. What do they always go back to? Our founding fathers were white. It sticks in their craw. George Washington, white. Thomas Jefferson, white. Our own John Adams, the great John Adams, white. Samuel Adams, white. Benjamin Franklin, white. The father of our Constitution, James Madison, white. Alexander Hamilton, white. And it burns them up. And so they believe if you want to destroy the Republic of the Founding Fathers, the Republic of our Constitution, the historical America, then you have to destroy the white population. And how do you do it? Essentially through cultural genocide, i.e., through a massive demographic invasion. And this is all deliberate. It is all planned. It is systematic. They're open about it. They're not even hiding it. So what's driving this is anti-white racism. Now, I want to read to you one more. And I want, this is from 617. And I just want to put this on the table to see whether you agree or disagree. Jeff, enough of the theory. This is what President Trump should have done in Minnesota, and this is the 5-point plan he needs to do now. Number one, declare the Insurrection Act and send the 82nd Airborne to Minneapolis to provide security for all coming ICE operations. Number two, fly in a fleet of Lockheed Galaxy 5 transport jets. I guess those are those big mother transport jets. Three, mobilize every ICE agent in the country and get them to Minnesota. Four, start rounding up all the Somalis and load them directly into those Galaxy 5 transport planes. And once they're full, fly them off to Somalia and deposit them on the tarmac while the plane is still in taxi mode. 5, rinse and repeat, and then head to Maine when the job is finished. In other words, what 617 is saying is, we got to stop pussyfooting around. We got to stop beating around the bush. We got to take the gloves off. Invoke the Insurrection Act, send in the military, load up on ICE agents, clean out Minneapolis of every single illegal, the Somalis in particular, load them on transport planes, send them back to Somalia, rinse, wash, repeat. And then when you've done that, move to Maine, and then move to every other state in the union. That's the only way this thing is going to get done. We had an invasion declared upon us, and 20 to 30 million invaders have poured into our country. The only way to defeat an invasion is to deploy the military and deport every single one of them out. You want to repel the invasion, you need to repel the invasion. Agree, disagree. Phil in Missouri. Thanks for holding, Phil, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. I was just telling
Hi,
Grace
Phil.
that I'm suffering from TDS, which is Trump disappointment syndrome in the second term. It seems like it started off really strong with, we had Elon Musk and Doge, and I was like, wow, they're finding all this fraud. It's incredible. And then I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready for the deportations. And then the first kink was, well, we're going to get rid of the violent illegal ones. I'm like, okay, that's a little odd. That wasn't what we discussed over the last 10 years in all the rallies, but I guess you got to start somewhere like a phase one. And it never seemed to take off. And then they refused to release the numbers on how many are deported. And then, it takes you all the way up to Minneapolis. When we have all this money we can dump in, when we have to pull off some military operation in Venezuela, we have all the resources to dump into that. We have all the resources to go to Iran, all the resources to go to the Middle East whenever there's an issue. But when it comes to our country, our border, our people, we're just left high and dry. And this is after 10 years of promises, Jeff. And we had politicians, not even Trump, running on his agenda as well. And now they seem to be whistling in the wind like, oh, well, I guess we're not going to do that. And it's just so disappointing, Jeff, to have that. Like, where's the wall? We were promised the wall. That would be the first step. Let's complete the wall. Let's complete that. And then, the Republican Party with no fight, they want to, take the mask and dox all the ICE agents. Why don't the Republicans counter with something like, you know what? If you guys want transparency, how about we put cameras on teachers and let's see what they're teaching our kids? Let's publish the lesson plans and, the curriculums, and let's see how these kids are becoming blue-haired, screaming maniacs by the time they're 16. What is this education system doing? But there's no proactive fight in the Republicans. It's like they just want to go along, get along, and they're not representing us. I can tell you that. That's the feeling that I'm getting now. It's like, okay, we're just going to move along now, and if there's amnesty, that is going to be the biggest surrender I have ever heard in my life after the amount of stuff that that Trump talked about in those rallies for the last 10 years. Oh my God! If he gives amnesty, this whole thing was just a giant waste of time. A giant waste of time.
Well, Phil, look, I don't want to speak for the president, but I've heard nothing. I mean, some people are floating it. People in the audience and others are saying, well, maybe he should try this. But I've heard nothing from Trump or Stephen Miller or any of the people around him, Kristi Noem. They're not even thinking amnesty. I'd be shocked if they even thought of doing an amnesty. Because you're right, it would be the mother of all betrayals. His base would turn on him with a savagery. I mean, he would be basically cutting his own political throat. And the one thing Trump isn't is stupid, and he's not suicidal. But on everything else, Phil, I got to tell you, I wish I could disagree with you. I really do. And I don't know if I would say I'm disappointed in Trump, because overall, I still think his first year was very impressive. I think he's got a lot of major accomplishments, but I want a lot more from him on Minneapolis and Minnesota. This has gone on now for I don't know how many weeks. It's an open insurrection. I think Jacob Fry should be arrested. Tim Walz should be arrested. I don't know what they're waiting for. I want him to invoke the Insurrection Act. Okay, he won't invoke the Insurrection Act. Well, at a bare minimum, cut federal funding and start arresting. I don't mean, yeah, it's nice that Don Lemon was arrested, of course, but I want that mayor in handcuffs. I want Jacob Fry in handcuffs. Like, come on, let's go. That's what we elected you to do. And so, look, I feel like I'm repeating myself. He's weak at the DOJ. He's weak at the FBI. And I said this from the beginning. He's got a very strong cabinet. I think J.D. Vance is a superb vice president. I think Rubio has been a real surprise. He's been excellent, I have to say, as Secretary of State. You got Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at HHS, Kristi Noem at DHS. I think she's doing a phenomenal job. Scott Bessent at Treasury, Lutnick at Commerce. I mean, he's got in many ways an all-star cabinet. Frankly, it's a much better cabinet than his first term. I mean, there's some super talent there. But you're in a war. And I'm looking at Bondi, and I'm looking at Todd Blanche, her number 2, and I'm looking at Kash Patel. You can't win a war with those 3. And so far, I'm sorry, but Waltz and Fry and Mamdani and Michelle Wu are rolling Trump's DOJ. I mean, they're rolling Pam Bondi. Frankly, they're making a mockery out of her. And to me, you're right. Everything doesn't matter if we surrender on the illegal alien immigration invasion issue. It's an invasion. This should be our top priority. Look, Phil, I'll give you the final word. Yes, I voted for Trump to bring down inflation, to take control of our country back from these left-wing lunatics. Yes. Okay? But really, the number one reason why the Kuhner man voted for him was to secure the border, to build the wall, to deport millions and millions and millions of illegal aliens, and to stop and repel the invasion. Like, that to me was my number one issue why I voted for him. And I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think I speak for a lot of MAGA voters when I say this. So that's why people were saying, well, Jeff, why are you so critical of what he did in Venezuela? Look, I can't stand Maduro, but if we're going to spend all this money, why don't we spend it here? Because we're being invaded here. The enemy is here. And we're not fighting the war here. We're fighting wars overseas. And that's not what I voted for. Phil, final word to you. Am I wrong, Phil?
You're not wrong, Jeff. And the only thing I would add, Jeff, is that if we can't get them to leave, if the Democrats are going to prevent it, then voluntary deportations are the way to go. Maybe we could do something where we will, if you deport, we will not only pay you, we will continue to pay the benefits you're getting now for, say, 2 years, and take the money from the sanctuary states and cities, and they will get no federal dollars, and they can pay for it, and get them to all self-deport.
Oh, I love it. Phil, I love it. I mean, to me, I don't care how it gets done, just as long as it gets done.
Yeah, just get it done.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care. The soft touch, the hard touch. 617 said, bring in the transport planes, send in the military. Okay, if Trump doesn't want to do that, E-Verify, the welfare, federal funding, cut it all, and let them self-deport. I don't care. Just vamoose. Go. Out. Phil, dynamite call. Tom in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Great show. Jeff,
thank you, Tom.
I got to disagree with you. I agree illegal immigration, of course, it's wrong. If you're born here, you're an immigrant, that's wrong. But you got to realize that the government, our government, has allowed this illegal immigration to happen going back 45 years. It started with President Reagan. President Reagan gave amnesty to 3 million illegal immigrants. He also signed a bill that allowed any illegal immigrant to kind of be asked for their status when they go to a hospital, they get free medical care. That was 1986. So since then, Yale University did a study, their professors, back in 2015. At that time, they said there were about 30 million illegal immigrants in the country. Now, if you look at their chart, there were approximately 3 million illegal immigrants in 1986. By 1995, there were 10 million. So what happened, the illegals, they saw that, amnesty, free medical, and they started pouring into the country under Reagan, under Bush, the father, and then Clinton. And it hasn't stopped. And it's not going to stop. You've got 50 million illegal immigrants or more. Some have been deported, yes, by very small amounts. You get 700 judges processing 650 deportation cases. You got 50 million in the country. You look at the Homeland Security numbers, their charts. There are 400,000 convicted felon illegal immigrants in our country walking the streets, not in prison. You know how many were arrested last year? This is Homeland Security. Go to the website. Out of 400,000, 8,100. So, yes, they came, but they're never going to leave because the globalists, the capitalists, all these people came in. Walmart, McDonald's, all these companies wanted them to come in. The government allowed them to come in. Even under Bush the son, he said these people are better than Americans. So it's not going to stop. The best you can do, hire another 20,000, say, ICE agents, and just go after the criminals. Just go after all the criminals, probably millions, and that's the best you're going to do. There's 700 immigration judges. There should be 7,000. There's 4 million backlog of immigration cases. 4 million. So they asked Johnson for another 100 judges, the speaker. He said, we're looking at it. 100. So this is all set up. It's going to continue. And sooner or later, they're going to do some type of amnesty program or whatever. But at the current pace, 650,000 deported. You got 50 million. So 10 years from now, 90% of those people are still going to be here. So nothing's going to change. And the best you can do is try to get the criminals out of the
I think we can do more than that, Tom. By the way, your statistics are amazing. Very impressive. I think we can do more. I think if you cut off the welfare, if you cut off the federal funding to these sanctuary cities and states, if you, I don't want to repeat myself, but you do E-Verify. In other words, we can squeeze them economically. We can tax their remittances. And we can certainly, forget fighting wars abroad. Let's fight the war at home. 617-266-6868. Bill in Andover. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
Hey, Bill, how are you? I'm talking on a pair of power beats in an empty hallway. Am I echoing?
You are a little bit. Are you on speaker, Bill?
No, I have headphones on. Let me see if I can.
Bill, are you there?
Jeff, I called you many times before.
Yes, you're coming in loud and clear. Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I talked to you many times before, and I requested a Sandy not to use my real name because, I hope I'm not off topic here, but it was something that's real passionate to me. I was in the union around Boston for years, and it was 75%, Irish, Italian, and we only had 25% immigrants that were working here. And our biggest thing was you don't do anything against the rules of the union, to keep it to where we make as much money, all our benefits, sorry if I'm out of breath, and all that different stuff. And, what happened is when the foreigners come in, we got a foreigner as a president. Here I go with a fake name. All the illegal aliens started working for cash. It ruined our union, because they're not going to pay a white guy to work for $60 an hour when the kids that just get off the boat are working for 18. It's like soul is great, but it's all taken over by the government. I know I'm going off on a tear, but I got a place. I'm building a new house for me and my wife, and I'm going to buy solar direct from a guy, $100 a panel, put the batteries in there. You have to do what you got to do. like an old pioneer where there's not enough gold in the earth to live in around a state like this. I got a couple immigrants working with me, you know. I pay them cash. I'm not going to say they're better workers, but it starts just, we need to just change so much about our country. And my biggest belief is it's the media. I hear the guy, he wants to bring the submarines in, he wants insurrections. Look what we were doing, minimal stuff. And the media makes us out like we're already there. So we have to, change our whole attitude, ground up, straightening things out. This state's a horror show. I requested years ago, I said, Jeff, make some T-shirts. Put Bill from Sudbury, so-and-so from Rhode Island, and, all the different callers, Jeff Kuhner. Get it out there. Let people see you. Get bigger. You're important. The media is so important. You need to start to have meetings, town hall meetings, once you get bigger and bigger, so that we can beat the afternoon guys and all those jerks that are on the pay. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I just figured I'd call.
No, Bill, I'm with you. Look, I got it. You're completely right. Look, so much of this state is corrupt. And now they even have illegal aliens infiltrating the unions. I mean, they're undermining the union man. They're undermining workers. They're undermining taxpayers. They're undermining middle-class, hardworking, law-abiding people. And you know what's going to happen, Bill? This is going to break my heart. But eventually, people are already leaving. But after a while, so many businesses, so many hardworking people are going to leave. There's going to be no tax base left. Who's going to pay for all these illegals? I mean, I know you're right. You're saying they're being paid under the table. But many of them are getting massive welfare benefits. Who's going to pay for all this if the taxpayers leave? See, that's what they don't see. That's what they're so greedy, Bill, that they can't see beyond their nose. They can't see into tomorrow. And look, in the end, I'm going to make it. You're going to make it. I'm telling you, we're going to make it. But what about our children? There's no future for them. And that's why I've been telling President Trump, you can't be Mr. Nice Guy, because the Democrats don't respect that, because they're not interested in real solutions. This is about power. And they look at an illegal alien, and you know what they see? Slave. They see a slave to the Democratic Party. It's like history is repeating itself. And for that slave, they're willing to destroy our country. So we have to ask ourselves, do we love our country more than the Democrats hate it? And if we love our country more, then let's go out and fight for it. By the way, I'm having a meeting this Friday, Bill. I'm going to do it with top management. I'm going to do everything I can to get this show on as many stations as possible. Because you're right. I want to take our message everywhere. Bill, God bless you, and call again, my friend. 617-266-6868. Phil in Medford. Thanks for holding, Phil, and welcome.
How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good. How are you, Phil?
I'm doing well. Hey, just a quick thing. Mine's going to be quick. I agree with everything that everybody's saying. I really like the one that the other Phil said about with body cameras on in the school. Linda McMahon, Department of Education, she should go right along with that. Anyway, the reason why I called is because I just want you to understand that my wife was showing me that she got a text message on her phone because she's in, online with the city just to see what's going on within the city and all that stuff. And they were sending her a text message letting her know that they were having protests about the ICE agents and letting her know that, go there. You know what I mean? So
Phil, can you please hang on? This is a molto importante. All right, let's go right back to Phil in Medford. Phil, I want to keep your wife's identity secret, obviously, private. and what she does for a living. So I don't want to get you or her in trouble. So, Phil, I'm just curious, who sent the text to your wife, if you can disclose, that there were going to be these anti-ICE protests in Boston and that your wife should attend? Can you disclose who sent the text to your wife?
I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you. But anyway, my whole thing is that, and it wasn't in the town that you're saying that it happened in a different town. But what I'm saying is that every town is the same. It's all Democratic towns. Let's be honest. And they just, their way that they communicate and how they get people involved is just so much more advanced and so much. They take the time and they do it. That's the bottom line. You know what I mean? And
you're saying they're organized, they're coordinated, they're well funded, they work together. Republicans, forget about it, correct?
Yeah, well, I think most of us are too busy working. You know what I mean? So we're out there, trying to make a buck and trying to, do the best thing we can for our family. But at the end of the day, I mean, they get their word out because they're able to get their word out because they're entrenched and they're in control of towns and cities.
Phil, before I let you go, and again, if I'm asking if it's too personal, please tell me. I won't get offended. Why were they asking your wife to show up for this anti-ICE protest? In other words, I know why they wanted your wife to show up. I get it. They want bodies. But as far as I know, ICE has not conducting any operations in Massachusetts now. So why are they protesting ICE? Did they tell your wife why?
I think no. I don't know exactly what was said, but I mean, it was just a matter of getting support. So they were against them. You know what I mean? Just hey, show up here. We're having the ICE rally. Show up.
Incredible. Just incredible. Phil, great call. Thank you so much for that call. Look, as I said earlier in the show, there's video footage that's come out, bus after bus after bus, and they're loading up these are professional protesters. They're paid. What is it? $20-25 an hour. Their signs are even shipped in from out of state. So, they give them the signs. They pay them by the hour. And by the way, I'm not kidding. There is a story, is it in the Epoch Times? I'll find out where it's from. I don't want to say where it's from, but they actually interviewed some of these anti-ICE agitators, these professional activists. Do you know that some of them make up to $100,000 a year? I'm like, what? But I'm saying to make $100,000, you got to be, protesting full time. You work weekends. You're willing to protest at night. If you do that, you get like double time. It's like overtime. You have to be willing to go into the cold, like for example, in Minneapolis. So if you're willing to go across the country, you're willing to protest in the freezing Arctic cold. Okay, like as I said, like in Minnesota, and you're willing to work night shifts and weekends. $100,000 a year. $100K a year just to protest. That's it. Yell, scream, shout, wave signs, and obstruct ICE. And that's $100,000. I don't know if you remember this. We played the cut. This was maybe a couple of weeks ago where Laura Ingraham went to cover the Minneapolis riots. And she was just walking around the city, and she met these anti-ICE protesters, and she confronted one, and it was a woman. And she said, "Don't you have a job?" And literally the woman said, "This is my job." like I'm working. Anyway, so if you're looking for work, they're hiring. And if you're willing to put in the time and, bundle up in the cold, freeze your rear end off, you can make $100,000. 617-266-6868. Phil made the excellent point about cameras in the classroom and have cameras on teachers so you know what they're, teaching the kids. Just very quick, you want to see how brainwashed and indoctrinated high school students have now become in their hatred for ICE and for Trump and for securing and protecting our border? This is in Texas. So these are Texas high school students who are now, I believe San Antonio, but don't quote me on this, who are part of an anti-ICE class walkout. So this is happening all over the country, where students, not even college, high school students, are just walking out of class, walking out of school, and then engaging in a protest against ICE. Well, they see a teacher who they know is a conservative, who actually, like me, favors ICE and thinks deporting criminal illegal aliens is a good thing. They beat him black and blue. They start gang rushing him, and they start to beat him to a pulp, punching him, kicking him. I mean, they beat him to an inch of his life. Listen now, people are screaming, get the F off of him, as a gang of high school students beat up their teacher during an anti-ICE walkout. Roll cut 16, Mike. Yeah, that's why you need cameras in the classroom, because this is what they're doing. They're so manipulating these kids and so ginning them up with hatred against ICE and against Trump and against deporting illegals, that when they do a walkout and now they see a teacher who they know is a conservative or a Trump supporter or whatever, like a pack of animals, like a pack of jackals, they beat him good. I mean, they beat him senseless. They probably would, honestly, that if you look at the video footage, they probably would have killed him. But you had other students, mainly women, to be honest, saying, what are you doing? What the F you're doing? Get the F off of him. What's wrong with you people? So this is the cancer that's spreading across our country. Julie in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Julie, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi,
Jeff.
Julie.
Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure, Julie.
Two quick things. Number one, we've known that this has been going on forever. George Soros supporting all these protesters or the NGOs. I mean, remember all those college students with the Free Palestine? They had all the matching tents and everything else. College students can't afford that type of stuff. Someone had to have been buying it for them, So that, and I just want to quickly go back to what you were talking about, Somali, all the Somali people and not assimilating and things like that. I know that you're a history buff, right?
Yes.
So you'll probably recognize this. I'll make this quick. In the first place, we should insist that if the immigrant who comes here in good faith becomes an American and assimilates himself to us, he shall be treated on an exact equality with everyone else. For it is an outrage to discriminate against any such man because of creed or birthplace or origin. But this is precipitated upon the person becoming in every facet an American and nothing but an American. There could be no divided allegiance here. Any man who says he is an American but something else also is not an American. We have room for but one flag, the American flag. We have room for but one English language here, and that's the English language. We have room for but one sole loyalty, and that is to the loyalty of the American people. Theodore Roosevelt sums it all up right there. You cannot be an American and have another allegiance to another country. It just won't work.
Julie, I so agree with Theodore Roosevelt and with you. And let me go even one step further. We used to have a policy in this country that you could only have one passport, meaning if you emigrate from another country, you have to renounce your citizenship and only have loyalty to the United States. In other words, you're an American citizen, you have an American passport, that's it. Okay? I'm just going to make up a country now. You come from Italy, as an example, or from Ireland or whatever. You're no longer an Irish citizen, you renounce your Irish citizenship, you become an American citizen, you have an American passport. I think we should return to that. I'm sorry, I don't like people. Now, this is not illegal immigration now. This is legal immigration I'm talking about. But I'm sorry, you can't have dual loyalties. Not in a republic like ours. So either you're an American or you're not. You're not, half in one country and half in another country, or you have multiple passports, or No, I don't believe in that. To me, we have one language, one people, one flag, one nation. And we used to have that's called a melting pot, and it made us the greatest superpower in the history of the world. Mike in Everett. Thanks for holding, Mike, and welcome.
Jeff, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
I'm okay. I got three things, but I'll start with the fact that the president and the Treasury Secretary have not done anything about these nonprofits that are violating nonprofit rules. That's number one. And I'm kind of fed up with it because a lot of the problems we're having today come from these nonprofits that are violating their own regulations, as they call them. Number two, I think the president signed that HB2 visas program yesterday.
Yes.
That was terrible. And he should look at what, a lot of times these high school kids and college kids work in the summer in these areas that they can make some money for tuition. And the third thing I want to ask you or tell you from my point of view is why isn't the president talking to the American people? Never mind these rallies. Never mind these intermittent press conferences. Sit down and talk to the American people at least once a month. He's not doing it. And I'm kind of fed up with the whole thing. I'm sorry.
Well, look, Mike, FDR did it. I mean, it wasn't through television. Obviously, we didn't have television in the 1930s, but he did it on radio once a week. And they were immensely popular. They were called fireside chats. And other presidents, Reagan, I'm not saying it was every week, but Reagan understood, he spoke to the American people often, and he was very effective at it. Not through press conferences, not by debating the media, not by rallies, although he did that, but by going on television. Reagan was often on television, and he said this, I want to get rid of the filter of the media, and I want to speak directly to the American people. And it was immensely successful. And the problem is that Trump, look, a lot of his policies are brilliant and effective, but it's not getting out there because the Democrats and the media are setting the narrative. Look what they've done. They have so demonized ICE over 2 legitimate self-defense shootings. There's no getting around it. Renee Good and Alex Preddy were in the wrong. They were completely in the wrong. And you ask most people on the streets and they'll tell you, oh no, she was just dropping her son off and was executed by an ICE agent. She tried to run him over. What are you talking about? She was an anti-ICE activist who tried to run him over. And as for Alex Preddy, he's another anti-ICE agitator who had run-ins before and in fact was spitting on and attacking ICE agents until he came the final time with a loaded gun and put himself between ICE and making an arrest, and he was obstructing ICE. So they don't know any of this. All they keep hearing is Gestapo, 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 Nazi, 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 dictator, dictator, dictator. And so that's the problem, is I think you're right. Trump needs to speak directly to the American people. I wouldn't even do it once a month. Honestly, I do it once a week. If he doesn't want to do it once a week, once every 2 weeks. But that to me is absolute bare minimum. And take his message directly to the American people and say, look, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. Let me tell you the truth. And this way you regain the narrative. You regain the moral high ground. My fear is he's losing the initiative. And, Mike, you know better than anybody. Politics like war. The initiative is half the battle. You lose the initiative, you're in trouble. Mike, am I wrong? Final word to you.
The other thing I wanted to let you know is these nonprofits are violating their own IRS rules.
Yes.
And nothing is being done. And
That's
they're
right.
creating all this mayhem going on all over the country. And I'm kind of concerned that Bessette and the president are not doing anything. And the last thing I asked about is the HB2 visas. 65,000 new people are coming into this country to work. Disgraceful.
Mike, Thank you very, very much for that call. I really appreciate it. No, we should be taking care of our own people. When our own people have jobs, then we can talk about H1B and H2B visas. No, that's coming from big tech. That's coming from Elon. That's coming from the Fortune 500 crowd. They were the ones who were pushing Trump for these H2B visas. Let's go to Sharon in Medford. Thanks for holding, Sharon. Sharon, I hate to do this to you. 1 minute left in the show. The floor is yours. Go.
Thank you, dear. You're doing a good thing. I try to do good things. I teach, and I'm in a charity, so there's a message for everybody. Coming through the square the other day in historic Medford, which has its own issues right now, what we call a runaway council, going to the left. There were 5 protesters in right dead center in Medford Square. So at first I wasn't going to do anything or say anything because I thought maybe I'd get a rock or a picket thrown at me. But they were fairly young and not badly dressed, so I figured maybe they had a brain. So coming to the red light, Jeff, I rolled down my window and I yelled out.
Mike, you're joking. You're joking, Mike. Even by your standards, you're joking. You couldn't give her another 5-10 seconds for her to finish.